Hi folks, how you doing? It's James here from the Code with Bev channel, and I was just going through some of the comments that I've been receiving on the channel for possibly the last 6 months, because I'm really bad at answering comments and answering the questions, and yeah, I was coming up with some interesting things, so I just thought it might be useful to kind of just record it really and just go through it with you guys, and maybe you'll find some useful information as we go through these questions. So yeah, if you do have anything that you want to ask, feel free to post it in the chat. But yeah, let's have a look at some of these comments and see if we can help some people out. So let's skip over the kind of random spam religious comment here. I kind of tend to just leave them on the channel. Can't hurt, can it? And might make someone happy. So let's have a look at this first one, the first legit comment. So I'm doing software engineering, 15 weeks bootcamp, any tips? Okay, so yeah, this is on the what to expect at your junior developer interview question. And yeah, bootcamps are an interesting one because they, from my experience or from what I've seen of them before, they tend to go pretty fast through lots and lots of different technologies. So 1 week you'll be learning HTML and CSS, and then the next it will be JavaScript, and then it'll be bang straight into React or something after that. So I guess probably the first bit of advice, or mainly the only bit of advice I'd kind of give, is to make sure that you're kind of understanding each part, each segment of the course before kind of really advancing on to the next one. I know you don't really have much choice a lot of the time, but yeah, it would be kind of a case of just making sure that before you're getting into React that you've got like a really good understanding of JavaScript, and that might mean that you're kind of working in the evenings and the weekends and stuff like that to make sure that the previous section, such as JavaScript, has been fully understood. But yeah, that's just the way it goes with the boot camps. They're like really intense. So let's reply to XOCX6ED. I'll just say, first of all, congratulations on starting your bootcamp. This was 3 weeks ago, so they're probably halfway through it now, maybe at the moment. Congratulations on starting your bootcamp. Probably the best bit of advice I can give to you is to make sure you understand each week stroke section, stroke module, whatever it is they're broken into, before trying to tackle the next one. This might mean that you need to put in the extra effort to complete each section in your own time. Make the most of your weekends, or make the most of your evenings and weekends. Make sure you're ready for the next module, let's say. Hope that helps. So there's not much else you can say about the boot camps. Like I say, each week is like so intense and stuff, and like moving on to the next one. You just got to make the best of your time, but try and focus and kind of really understand each week before kind of moving on to the next one. So yeah, hopefully that answers that guy's question. And if you are doing a bootcamp as well, hopefully that gives you a bit of tips as well. But it's probably sort of the same sort of advice you could give to anyone learning web development or programming in general. Is just before you kind of like jump into React or something, just make sure that you're comfortable with whatever you've learned previous before kind of rushing into the next thing. Okay, so not much to say to this one. Thank you very much for the chat, Cat. Reasonable. Okay, if I make a reply to every comment, they kind of disappear off my list and stuff, so I try and answer them when I actually get around to answering comments, at least that is. So thank you, that'll do. Thanks for the chat, Cat. Okay, so we've got another question here from Hassan. So I think Hassan's been on the channel actually recently, just asking a few questions, so good to hear from you, Hassan. Just a quick question. When I go to a brand new problem in your video, so these are the JavaScript exercises videos, so there's quite a few on the channel, and just giving you a problem and you have to kind of like solve it with your own code. What approach can I use to start at least writing the pseudocode before I even write the real code? Okay, so I'm getting stuck at trying to understand where to start, like the hexadecimal color code problem. I didn't even know where to begin. Okay, right, so I think probably the advice here, so Hassan is kind of saying, you've got a problem that you've kind of been asked to solve with some JavaScript code, which is essentially what coding is, and how do you kind of approach that problem? And it's going to be different for different people, but I would definitely say that kind of thinking through the problem and trying to make a note of all the kind of key points of what needs to happen is probably the best start. You know, pseudocode is great if you kind of like write down it should be like an if statement or something along those lines, but realistically what I do, especially if you kind of like got a really complex problem, is to kind of write down the steps that need to happen to kind of solve that problem. And if you can't write the steps down, you need to spend a bit more time trying to understand. You either don't understand the problem, or you just need to spend a bit more time thinking about what the steps are to actually solve that. So let's write a reply for Hassan. Hey Hassan, good to hear from you. Okay, oops, exclamation mark. So what I would tend to do is write down the steps that are required to solve the problem. So if it was something complex, I would think about what needs to happen and then make notes using JavaScript comments, for example. So you can literally do that, like write a comment down for each of the steps, and then you can just write the code that needs to happen for each one, and then make notes to complete the task. If you're not sure what the steps are, try thinking about the problem deeper and how you would maybe take each part and break it down. So Hassan mentioned the hexadecimal color code problem in that video, and I don't remember what that was. I think it was basically generating a hexadecimal code. I'd have to go and look, to be fair, but yeah, I think it was something like that, or it was converting, maybe converting RGB to hexadecimal, maybe. So we'll take a bit of a guess without checking. Yeah, so with the hexadecimal problem, what are the steps that actually, let's go and have a look at what this is, because I can't, oh, I've lost that comment. Oh, no way. Let's go back. Brilliant. Okay, so I'll reply to Hassan again. Oh no, I have actually sent it, I think. Okay, I'll go back and check that, because rather than boring you guys with that, but yeah, I'll go and check what that problem was, and then I'll go back to Hassan and just update him. But yeah, essentially breaking down the problem step by step. I tend to do it quite a lot. I think there was something the other day I was working on, and it was really complex. So, and it was just, I couldn't really get my head around what code to actually write for it. So just like writing down each step, and then you can kind of, you might refactor it or change it later on, but if you can just like kind of work through each of the steps themselves, and yeah, just write them down as bullet points and just work through those bullet points, and that's probably the easiest thing to do. Okay, so Mr. Legugu, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. So hi, this is a great tutorial, thank you very much. Still a bit stumped. Do you know why it isn't possible to just connect to the database from the Angular app straight away instead of having to create a backend server? Okay, so this was a video on let's build a kind of quick app. It's mainly to kind of like show TypeORM and how that's used and how you connect it to a database. But there was an Express API to kind of get the data, and that fed into an Angular app. So yeah, hopefully this might be pretty obvious to most of you, but if it's not, that's fine. There's no stupid questions. But essentially, when you connect into a database, it's going to be protected by some kind of authorization. quite badly in that example. It didn't have any authorization because it was just an SQLite database, but generally you're going to have a username and password at the very least to connect to a database. So that is why you don't connect directly. If it was physically possible to connect from your front-end app, whether it's React or Angular, to a back-end server, to a back-end database, because you'd have to put your username and password or your connection details into the front-end app, which would then, of course, make it available to anyone who opens up their dev tools and does inspect element and looks in the console to find out what your connection details are. So it's just as simple as that, really. You don't put anything that you don't want anyone else to see in your front-end app, because obviously they can then do naughty things with it. So let's reply to Mr. Lugugu. Okay, so hi. Let's just say it's a bit of a bad example in this tutorial because we're just using an SQLite database. But generally, most databases will have some kind of connection string, with a username and password. If we were to connect from to this database from the front end, you would need to supply this username and password, therefore exposing it to the rest of the world and I guess like the database might not be publicly accessible because no, it would need to be because you're accessing it from the front end. So yeah, it would be a publicly accessible database. So that's another problem as well, because obviously you need to make sure that the database was exposed to the internet as well. But of course, yeah, the main problem being the credentials. So therefore explaining it to the rest of the world and making it available for anyone to access. Okay, this is why we put it on the back end stroke server so that it is only accessible via us, but of course we need to supply the database data back to the front-end app, which is why we have the Express API. Okay, so there's probably about a million and another different reasons why you would not kind of directly access your database on the front end, but I think there's the key ones really. It's the security, it's the accessibility, but yeah, it's just not the way it's done, is it? So you guys might know that already. Okay, so hopefully Mr. Lugugu has got his answer, and okay, this is a really old video. How to find the longest word in a string with JavaScript. Okay, there's just thank you comment. So I like thank you comments, but obviously, yeah, it's nice to get them, but it's good to have a question as well. I'll just say thanks to this one. Okay, so one interesting thing actually is with the exercise videos that I get, or have created rather, should I say, I usually get like quite a lot of comments coming back that also say give suggestions or kind of like other alternative solutions for the problems. That's great because, you know, those videos and those exercises, they were done years ago really now. So my coding style's changed and you know, my knowledge has increased infinitely since then as well, but it's always good to see people's fresh approach to doing it as well. So generally I don't know whether people actually want feedback on these or not, but I generally, you know, just say thanks for sharing your solution and stuff, but sometimes they are quite interesting, so I'll have a quick look through. I think these look like these are all from the Patel 665 has been quite busy here, so yeah, we'll give some feedback on some of these. So I forget what's in JavaScript exercises 5, but I think they're all related to this video. So this looks like, yeah, there's unique characters inside of a string. And yeah, it's not bad solution as far as I can see. I like the or at the end of it to say there's no unique chars as the kind of default message. Default value is obviously really important and really handy to use as well. Not sure if that solution works or not for the actual problem, but yeah, that's fine. I can't remember what the actual exercise is, so I'd have to go and check it. But yeah, I'll just say thanks for sharing. No, you don't need to use a return statement and curly braces in an arrow function if there is one line in your function and it returns a value. So basically that return keyword is not necessary. Some people keep them in for the arrow functions, which is fine. I guess like the brackets aren't necessary as well, but that's fine. So some people keep the return statements in just to kind of for clarity, but it's not necessarily, and it does neaten things up a little bit. Okay, I'm saving. Let's go to the next one. Again, Patel665 has provided this one for us. So again, can't remember what this. I'm not even sure what this function is supposed to be doing because it's just called. Never mind. Let's have a look. So we've got a string argument passed in, and oh right, okay. So yeah, it's removing the duplicates from it by doing that kind of little trick using the ES6 set function or class operator, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, so that should be all that it's doing. So I'm not sure if that's the solution that I used before for that, but it works, so that's good. Thanks for sharing. Nice use of the set. What is it? It's an object, isn't it? So set object. I think that deserves a little bit of an emoji as well. Okay, and this one is filtering vowels. Okay, yeah, that's fine. But it is actually returning the length as well. So yeah, there's a few things here. I mean, you know, if I was being nitpicking and stuff like that, and it's not really the point of the exercises, but you might want to obviously check that the arguments being passed in is actually a string, because as soon as you start to call like lowercase and split and things like that, you're going to have a problem. But other than that, looks good. Thanks for sharing. Just be aware that you might to check if the argument passed in is actually a string to avoid errors. Hopefully that makes sense. And there's one more from Patel665. Let's just have a look at this. So returning, is this just oh, we're sorting a string. Okay, yeah, sounds good. Yep, very nice. Don't forget you don't need the return and curly braces if you don't want it. Okay. Oh, thank you very much, Pranith. I hope I said that right. Yeah. Sorry, I'm not really keeping track on the comments here, but there you go. So hopefully you're finding this useful. Okay, so that's all of the exercises from Patel665. Some good feedback, some good examples there. So this was a short video that I did a few weeks ago just about how to delay a function call using JavaScript debounce. So just like a really quick and dirty debounce function. Check that out if you're interested on how to do that. And Starman6752 has said, or you can use the Lodash library, which I believe has got a debounce function in there as well. So yeah, that's cool. Yeah, absolutely. I do, for some reason, dislike Lodash and I don't want to use it. I feel like maybe because it's giving you the solution and it's making things easy rather than you having to write any code and stuff, it feels a bit like, not cheating, but don't want to use it if you don't have to. It did used to be several years ago that Lodash, you had to like import like the whole library into your app, even if you just wanted to make use of one function. And that was a bit of a pain because it just increases the bundle size of whatever app you're building. I believe now though that it has been refactored and it's got tree shaking abilities kind of built in. So if you only import the one function, then it's only importing that few lines of code that make use that are used to make that function. Whereas before it'd bloat your app. Now it's a bit more lean and cut down. So I should say I do want to hate Lodash, but I don't know why. Because I don't have a really good reason anymore. So there you go. Okay, so let's have a look at this next one. So this is from the JavaScript Essentials kind of playlist course type thing that is pretty old now. I was looking at it the other day. It looks pretty good actually still. So check that out if you want to have a look at some, get some basic JavaScript learning in. So can you please do a short video on how to use this code to create a contact list? Okay, so that was all about data types. I'm trying to learn for free in Cisco in this section. I have went through the first lessons, but at the bottom it has an exercise that says something like try to create a contact list using what I have learned in this lesson. I'm still confused. It is at the end of module 1. I'm not sure what module they're talking about. There is a, let's see if we can get another tab up here. So on the channel I've got, let's just go JavaScript Essentials. There is something about arrays. Actually, where's the player? Array functions. Let's just, I'm pretty sure there's just one on arrays, which might be a bit more useful for this particular person. Yeah, okay, so let's copy a link to this. So sorry, I'm talking to myself there a minute ago, but let me try and summarize what I think this person's trying to do. So they're learning JavaScript and they want to make a contact list using some basic JavaScript, probably not maybe putting it onto a web page or something, I don't know. But essentially contact list or any type of list is going to be an array of objects or something like that. So let's just point in that direction. I think that should do. So Joshua, hi Joshua. I'm going to start apologising for the late reply because this was a month ago now. Apologies for the late reply. So if you want to make any kind of list, you'll need to use a JavaScript array. To be fair, they did ask if I could do a short video on this, but yeah, might be a bit more, need a bit more information before I kind of would put anything together for that. So need to use JavaScript arrays. So maybe check out this video which focuses on using arrays. If you can give a bit more information, then I can maybe put together a quick video for you. Chances are this was a month ago and Joshua's moved on and found something else, but it's nice to reply. Okay, so let's do a few more. I'll probably wrap up in a minute, but let's see if we can find anything interesting in here. Phil Yu is commenting on the coded JavaScript countdown timer with a flip clock, and I was quite impressed with this video, or the project at least anyway. So it's like one of those kind of ticker clocks, so there's quite a lot of CSS involved in terms of how to flip the numbers down and stuff, but essentially the kind of countdown timer or the clock itself was literally just a JavaScript date object that kind of works the difference out between two dates and stuff and then just counts down from there. So what Phil Yu is asking is, did the time that's been shown, is it the same as the system time? And assuming there's nothing wrong with your browser settings or anything like that, then it will actually just be the JavaScript will take that date and time from the system time. So I'm assuming that's what they're asking. yes, the JavaScript date object will or should match the system time on your local machine. So that's probably quite important as well, because if the JavaScript code's running in the browser, it's kind of relative to the machine that you're running it on. If you're running Node.js on a server somewhere, then obviously whatever dates you're working with there are going to be relative to where that code is running itself. So I guess whatever engine, whatever JavaScript kind of thing, environment you're running in, is where it'll take the time from. Okay, so we've got a thank you here. You're welcome. Okay, and we've got another solution to an exercise here. So this video is all about array methods. So we're looking at kind of how you get given an array of data in JavaScript, and you have to kind of use like array methods or array functions like filter and sort and so forth like that on it. So this one, a little bit squished together, but I think I can read it. So if sold, orders.filter, and it's filtering for a particular element, product ID, which maybe that was what was asked in the question, can't remember. But yeah, essentially it's I don't really understand where this delivered property is coming from. Maybe I'll ask. I'm sure. Does this work? I might just ask, does it work? So does this work? Where does the delivered property come from? Or it might be from element dot delivered. So if I remember, in the orders array that you deal with in this exercise, there's basically like a list of orders, and they've got like product IDs and stuff in there, and prices and dates and things like that, and also whether they've been delivered or not. So where this person is looping through all of the elements, they've kind of used elements twice there, which is a bit, or EL for elements, which is a bit misleading. But somewhere in there is going to be a delivered property. I think it's on the orders top level, so here, so we'll probably want el.delivered. So yeah, there you go. That's probably what's going on with that. So okay, so we've got a few more thanks here. Is there something that's more useful for you to go through? Not sure. So we did some React projects a few years ago. I think this one might have been in TypeScript, which is why the person is asking for a JSX version. It's a bit late, but here we go. See if they're... It's Joshua again, different Joshua. Hi, Joshua. Just apologies for the late reply. Apologies for the late reply. What were the errors you were getting? So I guess a little tip for you when you're writing a comment or just asking a question in general about coding. It's great saying, oh, this isn't working, I'm getting errors, but if someone's going to help you out, you ideally need to kind of hear what those errors are, or be able to kind of have some way to kind of narrow down what the problem is. So it could be anything. It could be like a missing curly brace or something like that. But without knowing more information about the errors, can't really help any further. So yeah, always provide what's happening when you're asking a question. Okay, so there's a couple of questions here on Hugo setups and tutorials and stuff like that. So okay, might need to look into those ones because I haven't looked at Hugo stuff in quite a while. So probably leave it there for today. Hopefully, if you did tune in, hopefully you found that useful. Maybe not, but there's still a little insight into the kind of questions that we get asked here on the Code with Bub YouTube channel. And if you do have a question yourself, just drop it into a video. If you've come to me via one of the videos on the channel, just feel free to ask a comment, and I'll do my best to answer it for you. But yeah, if you've got anything else that you want to ask me, just feel free to fire away. But yeah, I hope you've found this session useful for today, and yeah, I might do another one if you find it useful, and I'll see you next time. Bye.